There are people in this world who start from a very low point. They are born into hardship, grow up surrounded by struggles, and pass through years where food, money, and daily survival are constant worries. Yet strangely, from those difficult places often rise some of the strongest individuals, people who live with dignity, kindness, patience, and determination. They learn, they endure, and they slowly build their lives step by step. Because of that, material poverty has never been the end of a person's story. The most frightening thing is not having an empty pocket. The most frightening thing is having an empty will, a heart without kindness, and a life without self. A person may be put in circumstances, but if they remain honest, hardworking, and believe in the value of honest labor, life will eventually open a path for them. But someone who spends their days envying others, complaining, speaking bitter words, and living through deceit and pettiness will eventually destroy their own life, even if many opportunities appear before them. There is a very strange type of person in this world. They refuse to look at themselves, yet they are very skilled at judging others. When someone is slightly better than them, they feel uncomfortable. When someone improves their life, they begin to mock. When someone works hard, they call it fake or showy. And when someone becomes successful, they immediately assume it was luck, connections, or manipulation. They cannot accept that somewhere out there are people who quietly endured pain, silently paid the price, and walked through difficult years to achieve what they have today. These people are not poor because of their circumstances. They are poor in their thinking. They are poor in their character. They are poor in their and that kind of poverty follows them the longest. It keeps them living in frustration, resentment, bitterness, and exhaustion. They do not believe in the value of hard work, only shortcuts. They do not believe in perseverance, only quick results. They do not want to improve themselves, yet they demand recognition from others. They refuse to learn, but they love to judge. All of these habits combine to create a way of living that is exhausting for themselves and toxic for the people around them. Truly strong people do not live this way. They understand that everyone in life carries their own difficulties. Everyone falls sometimes. Everyone has moments of being underestimated. Everyone has nights of silent thoughts and heavy hearts. But strong people do not use suffering as an excuse to live poorly. They do not turn hardship into a reason to deceive others. They do not use failure to justify laziness. And they never use poverty as a reason to beg for sympathy while allowing themselves to become negative. Because they understand one deep truth. Circumstances are only where you stand. They do not decide who you will become. Some people are poor but still live clean and honorable lives. Their words are sincere. Their work is honest. They may not have much money yet, but they have credibility. They may not have traveled far yet, but they know where they are heading. They may not be better than others today, but every day they become better than their past self. People like that will eventually rise, not because of miracles, but because they possess a valuable, invisible asset. The mindset of someone who wants to move forward. On the other hand, people with a small and bitter soul live very differently. Their inner world lacks light. Instead of learning good things, they prefer gossip and negativity. Instead of building value, they prefer destructive words. Instead of focusing on improving their own life, they constantly watch the lives of others. In their eyes, other people's success becomes a thorn. Other people's joy becomes an annoyance. They cannot tolerate seeing someone kind, talented, or stronger than them, so the only thing they try to do is pull others down to their own level. But life is fair in the end. People who live with pettiness may win a few short moments, but they cannot win the long journey. People who live by lies may fool a few individuals, but they cannot fool cause and effect. People who live with jealousy may hurt others temporarily, but in the end, the one burned the most is themselves. Because jealousy is like drinking poison and hoping someone else gets hurt. The more you feed it, the smaller your heart becomes. The more you hold on to it, the thinner your blessings become. If you truly want to change your life, you must first change your heart. When your heart becomes clearer, you complain less. When your mind becomes wider, you envy less. When your thinking grows larger, you stop competing over trivial things. A person truly begins to mature when they stop trying to prove themselves to the world and start working on improving themselves. They learn from others instead of looking for faults. They accept patience in order to go further. They move slower in order to become stronger. They work quietly instead of complaining loudly. A person with a rich soul is not necessarily someone with a lot of money. A rich soul is someone who remains kind in a practical world. Someone who may be behind, but never becomes dishonest. Someone who may struggle, but never distorts their character. It is someone who may not have much yet, but refuses to turn their heart into a marketplace of jealousy, selfishness, and petty calculation. A rich soul celebrates other people's success, because they understand that someone else's achievement does not take away their own opportunity. A rich soul sees someone talented and chooses to learn. Sees someone wise and chooses to listen. Sees their own weaknesses and chooses to improve. They believe that as long as they do not give up, as long as they remain hardworking, honest, and patient, life will not betray them. Many people want to become rich, yet they refuse to abandon their poor mindset. They want respect but live without kindness. They want big results but work carelessly. They want good treatment from others but carry bitterness inside. They want to move fast but refuse to move correctly. That is the paradox that keeps many lives standing still. Not because fate closed the door, because they never opened it from the inside. The truth is, everyone in life has moments of confusion and weakness. Everyone has felt tired, everyone has had negative thoughts. That is not the problem. The real danger is when negativity becomes a permanent home, when blaming others becomes a habit, when resentment becomes normal, when people see injustice everywhere but refuse to change themselves. Once a person becomes comfortable living in a poor mindset, they will turn every opportunity into a dead end. So if you truly want your life to improve, don't focus only on making money. Focus on upgrading yourself. Learn to speak words with value. Learn to think positively without being naive. Learn to work honestly. Learn to keep your promises. Learn to be grateful for what you have. Learn to look at successful people with respect instead of irritation. And learn to accept that if you want to stand tall in life, you must first bow down to discipline and self-improvement. Money can be lost and earned again. Opportunities can pass and return again. But when character becomes rotten, when habits become crooked, and when the soul becomes comfortable with low standards, it becomes very difficult to rebuild a meaningful life. That is why the first thing you should enrich is not your wallet, but your mindset and character. A poor person today may not remain poor tomorrow, but a person who lives with jealousy, deceit, laziness, and constantly sees themselves as a victim of the world will likely remain poor in spirit for the rest of their life. Life does not fear a slow beginning. It only fears a life that refuses to grow. Do not fear taking a longer path. Only fear having a dark heart and mistaking it for wisdom. Do not fear lacking money for a period of time. Fear lacking determination, self-respect, courage, and a heart that seeks goodness. Material poverty can still find a way upward. Lack of knowledge can still be improved through learning. But poverty of the soul, when a person refuses to change, becomes the greatest tragedy of all. Remember this: a person can rise from nothing, but no one can go far with a dirty soul, a narrow mind, and a rotten character. If you want life to bloom, your heart must lose its thorns. If you want blessings to come, you must live with dignity. If you want to face life proudly, you must first live honestly with yourself. Because in the end, what determines whether a life is noble or miserable is not just the money in your pocket, but the light or darkness inside your heart. May you find success. Follow the channel so we can grow and prosper together.